Hi, I'm Guy and welcome to my channel. Today I want to try and talk about the troubles and tribulations and pressure of being in your 40s, turning 40 and all the pressure and stress that leads to turning 40. I've only recently turned 40 about 2 weeks ago, and I've kind of felt the pressure for a while before this. Currently my life is a mess, for want of a better word. Everything has gone wrong in the last few years. Most recently a back injury that put me out of work for 8 months. I've just had to start back because I've also just been given notice of my flat. So I've been no choice to take another job that doesn't really suit me that well, just so I can raise the money to get myself moved. I have completely fallen out of love in the city that I live in. So I really don't want to have to live in here. So I've got to the position that I feel like the only way to sort my life out is to kind of draw a line under everything that's happened previously and start again from scratch. I'll talk about more what I want to do for the channel later on the line, but I was going to brush over what got me to where I am at this point. I was a very bright kid through primary school, was expected to do very well. Secondary school got there and it was a completely different situation. Within a few months of being there, I was diagnosed with severe ADHD and put on Ritalin, which is honestly the worst thing that could have happened to my child at this point, because it was an era where ADHD wasn't really well known and nobody was on Ritalin, and I was the kid that had to come out of class to go take his happy pill twice a day. So as somebody who was already kind of like stood out anyway for being a bit different, all of a sudden that was magnified to a point that it was humiliating, and school just became something that I try and avoid going to, but I would end up going most to, but not engage myself at all for the time I was there. Completely failed school, ended up with 1 GCSE, which for if anyone outside of the UK, this is the exams you do at 16 that kind of set you up for further education. I got 1 GCSE in maths, and as a result, my job prospects out of school were rubbish. First few jobs I did, shops and pubs, got fired for all of them. This is after I'd chosen to stop taking ADHD medication, but then I think subconsciously I started replacing it with other drugs. So yeah, the beginning of work career, not good at all. I then found care work at 19, and that was really good for me. That was a bit of a wake-up call, because of someone who felt like they'd been dealt a hard hand in life. It gave me a bit of context to people who really have it in a more challenging than me. So that was a bit of a wake up call, and I enjoyed that for years. But after a while, after 5-6 years, it started dragging me down. Mainly to do with a lot of the red tape that's involved with care work. I found it very hard to be able to deliver the care that was needed with the restrictions that are in the care sector. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. In this kind of period, I started getting more into different drugs, mainly the party drugs like cocaine and ecstasy and speed and stuff like that. I've always been a weed smoker as well, but I got quite heavily into the harder drugs and that. And after I lost my job, I fell flat into the lifestyle. I tried to get a couple extra jobs, but nothing worked. And I spent essentially 4 years living as a drug addict. I very luckily got arrested and almost went to prison, which was the big wake-up call that I really needed to try and sort my life out. But I really didn't know how to sort my life out from then, really. I didn't know what my purpose was, what I was supposed to do, the direction I was supposed to be going in. So the next 12 years, I tried so many different things to try and fit in a neurotypical way, or do stuff that I thought would make people proud of me or impressed by me. Because I've always wanted to someone wanted to have a family. I still don't have a family, and this is something that's a millstone around my neck, I feel. So yeah, I spent between the ages of, 28 and 40, just trying to do those things that would make people impressed with me. I had some normal jobs, some of them went well. Started a couple of my own internet businesses, some of these went well, but there was always something stopping it from reaching its full potential, and mental health was always on a ticking time bomb, or a cycle to fall apart. So the best thing I found in this time was actually Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. it actually did wonders for my mental health. And I found when I was doing this that everything in my life would go fairly simply. But unfortunately, for someone who started it in their 30s, a lot of injuries came with it. And some of these injuries came at the wrong times when it came to my career. So I ended up messing up a lot of things just because of my body giving up on me. And then we'd end up in a bit of a mentally unhappy position as well. The most recent thing that I tried, it was actually making very good progress for a couple of years. I had a food business with a friend of mine, but about a year into that, I got into a relationship that essentially, I don't want to go into too much details about it, but it completely depersonalised me of who I am. I completely lost who I was and everything about myself. My business ended up failing, and I fell into a very, very deep depressive state, the darkest place I've ever been. Every day was a battle to not give up on life, and it was a really dark time. I eventually managed to get myself out of that using martial arts again, but because of my injury problems surrounding my martial arts, I spent a lot more time focusing on the strength and conditioning and lifting side, and going to the actual gym side of fitness, and I actually got really into this, and as a result ended up being offered a position at the gym that I worked at that would combine my background in teaching martial arts, my interest in nutrition and fitness instruction. So this seemed like a fantastic way. It gave me a lot of energy, a lot of motivation. I managed to get completely sober for the first time, 7 months of complete sobriety, which is the longest I'd had since I was 11 years old. And I had a position to go through based on finishing my level 3 personal training course. The day before my final exam, a disc herniated in my back, trapping my sciatic nerve and leaving me completely unable to walk for 5 months. As you can imagine, put me into a very depressive state again. Completely lost about where my next stage was, because even when I was able to walk again, I've very high restrictions on what I can physically do. So my options in life, for somebody who doesn't have much in the way of qualifications or consistent job history, my options are very slim. So I'm now back in a position where I'm just taking minimum wage jobs to try and raise some funds to get myself living out of this flat that I've been in for 9 years. So very dark time. The only time that found me solace in those next few months was music, and getting out my guitar again and playing. Music's always something I've resonated with well. I've played in various bands over the years, and that's always something I enjoyed a lot, and it helped to raise me. But I never felt like I was someone who could be a front person or a solo artist. I was always like a guitarist or a bass player in another band. But I started to find more enjoyment than I ever have, and actually started to enjoy singing. I basically hermited for the entire second half of last year, and finally got myself out around Christmas time to go and to a friend's party. And this a friend there is we got into a deep conversation because he's got a lot of years' experience on the business side of the music industry. And in the conversation, I was telling him about the problems I'd had recently. He's like, "Why aren't you just working in music full time?" I was like, "Well, I'm too old and I'm not good enough." He's like, "Ridiculous, mate. If I had your ability, I'd be able to be making a full-time living from this. I'll just be spending my life going around playing gigs." And I'm like, "How do I even start? How do I even get begun this?" And he's like, if you do what I tell you to do, word for word, I guarantee you're not going to be mega rich. But if you just want to have a nice, comfortable life, playing gigs, going from town to town, and just making ends meet to get through, and you can. This is very achievable. But you have to start by learning to make digital content. Now, digital content is something that I haven't done before. This is literally the first thing I've ever done. This video was actually recommended to me by the friend. He said, vlogging my progress is probably something that will be beneficial to me and maybe to others. So here I am vlogging. But I'm thinking to myself, why does anybody want to listen to me ramble on? What is the point of this? And I've been mulling on this for the last 2 or 3 months. And what I've really realised is that there is a big stigma when it comes to being 40 years old, that we're supposed to have everything in line, we're supposed to know what we're doing, we're supposed to be set, we're supposed to have our mortgages, we're supposed to have our family, all this is supposed to be in place. And the reality of it, especially in the climate of today's economy and existence, it's a very, very hard thing to do. And as a result, this is why we see men in their 40s in particular as the people that give up on life, who can't live with the depression. And this is something that we really need to make a change. So partly of my journey is to try and vlog me at 40 years old going after my dream of being a full-time musician, and hopefully we can find other people who are either at rock bottom and needing to start again, or people who have been at rock bottom and wanted to rebuild. What I really love this channel to turn into is a podcast where I chat to people who are in their 40s or even later than that, but people who've had to start again later in life after everything has fallen apart around them. So yeah, really, this is what I really hope to do. Initially, my first few videos are going to be me just posting up and talking about my journey, and then I'll start talking to a couple of friends who have gone through similar situations or in the same spot as me, that hit rock bottom at 40 and have had to rebuild their building blocks at this point in life. And then hopefully I want to expand this to the great internet. So this is my video reaching out to people. Are you someone who has had to start their life again in their 40s and are now thriving? Because I really want to hear from you, and I'm sure there are many people out there that will be inspired by your story. Because 40 isn't the end of life. If you look at it, really, you're only halfway through your working life between 18 and 65. We're not even halfway, so everything can be turned around. I truly believe this, but I feel like we as men in particular, I'm not saying it's just for men, but in particular we need to be supporting each other, be open about how we feel more, and talking about the stuff that's going on inside our head, and figuring out a way to make this life worth living, and that knowing that going after your dreams is possible. Sorry, a little bit stumbly at the end there. I'm not so used to talking on a camera, so yeah, this is my first attempt. I thank you so much for listening to me, if you've got this far, and I really hope to hear from people who are going on a similar journey, and let's gang together and make this journey enjoyable and help inspire other people who are on the same journey. So thank you very much. I'll speak to you all again soon.